I'm going to start by doing a motherboard test of the motherboard I have in this console. Not this motherboard. If I recall, I think I'm sort of debating what I want to do with the screens in this console since they are a little yellowed. But as far as the motherboard is concerned, I'm going to be trying to see if I can sell that separately. Game card slot had some problems, so I'm going to have to check that. I'll do one more full test on all of the systems. At least the ones that are relevant to the motherboard. I think I have a different bottom screen in it for some reason. So let me look at it. Oh yeah, I put a different bottom. I wonder if it was retaining an image. The best thing to do would be to swap out this screen, swap out these two screens with a pair of matching screens, and then carry on with selling this console. Okay. For my motherboard tests, I'll just be checking some categories down here. Pretty much all of them are related to the motherboard in some way, shape, or form. Others, not so much. Motherboard, power board, console turns on. Let me grab my R4 card. Oh, actually, did I load up my DS Pico with testing software? I never actually checked if I did or not. No, it doesn't look like it. So I'll go the old-fashioned route and do my other R4 card. Old reliable. Yeah, you can even see some of the yellowing on this camera. Because I did swap out the backlight in this top screen. I'm not going to say that surgery was a failure. It's obviously a success. It was just that backlight was also yellowed. Go the diagnose. Somewhere is my big fat stylus. Really need to get like a oh, here it is. Get like a vibrant pink one so I don't lose it among my other black tools. So I usually perform a much longer test on the shoulder buttons just to make sure that there's nothing wrong with them, but the shoulder buttons themselves have no bearing on the function of the motherboard. It received inputs, so the actual switches of the shoulder buttons themselves are not important. This, yeah, again, I'm also not too worried about the function of this touchscreen, just that the motherboard can receive its inputs, which it does. Tactile buttons, the touchscreen, speakers, microphone, and headphone jack. Now this one can be pretty... where did I put that SD card? Here it is. Now the function of the microphone is a component of the motherboard. La 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 la! And it would be if there's a problem with this microphone port. The microphone wouldn't work. Especially, and also the headphone jack soldered to the motherboard as well. So it reads the SD card, it's sort of playing my music right away. Volume button works. Grab my earbuds. Check both channels. Yep. You know what? I do think I'm kind of feeling up to disassembling a console, so I might swap the screen in this guy. Looks like I have a bottom screen, so I just have to find one that matches. I obviously will need to swap this digitizer. It's been in better shape. Not only is it just covered in like micro scratches, there's a pretty good scratch right there. A little bit of the digitizer is like flaking away right there, or maybe that's just grime. Doesn't really matter. That big scratch enough is worth me swapping it. Cameras and charge port, and then the game card slot is also another big one. The top of my head. Yep, both cameras work. Charge port. Let me grab my USB tester. That looks like has fallen below my desk. Did it actually? Oh, here it is. Oh, so very close. It wanted to. Alright, let that power up. Plug in the charger. Comes up on the software as well as showing an amp draw. Now what I'm going to do is jiggle the charger around. See if I can get that orange light to disappear. Which it doesn't. So that tells me that that charge port's solid. There's no cold solder joints. Nothing that would indicate that that port needs replacing. Game card slot is going to be the next one. Another big one. That's part of the motherboard. Let me grab my stack O game cards. Now, I don't remember what I did to this. I just noted that it just failed to read some game cards. I remember having to pretty much abort right away after the first few game cards it couldn't read. It was like, yeah, this game card slot either needs some intensive cleaning or needs to be looked at. It looks fine externally, but just looking at the pins can only tell you so much. So I'm just going to start one at a time. Just kind of see how things are looking. So okay, it does. I wonder if I can make it more consistent. Okay, if I quickly press down on the corner of the game card while it's in the slot, clicked in, I can get it to disappear. Or not anymore. So what I'm basically doing is I'll put pressure on the game card slot. There's a tiny bit of play in the slot itself. Oh, even as I'm hearing it pop in and out, even as I'm just shifting it from side to side. And then what I'll do is I'll push on the game card, keep going until I hit the actual ejection point where you'll hear the game card slot click. Probably not audibly in this case, but... And then I'll just keep going down until I actually bottom out the card in the game card slot. Just jiggling it from side to side all the way down. So what's interesting is, to some degree, I am able to get it somewhat consistent if I put pressure on the right-hand side of the game card. Not super consistent. I'm obviously not able to get it to do it now. But I'm just going to carry on. And then what I'll also do is I'll slap the console against my open palm to see if it disappeared. It just did. I saw it. I did it again. So this game card slot is having some pretty good troubles with it. I'm just trying to see now if I can replicate this with other games. Yep. Just thought disappear. If memory serves, this is much better than what it was. But yeah, I'll abort. It's failed 3 in a row. Which is well below my standards. So what I think if it is the right-hand side of that game card slot that's going bad, I wasn't able to replicate that really consistently with those other 2 game cards, sort of putting pressure on the right-hand side. But I'm just going to go forward with the idea that there is indeed a consistent issue with that right-hand side. So I'll look at the pins and see if there's anything kind of damning there. I may try and bend them up a little. I've never been too much of a fan of bending game card pins up, but some kind of the easiest option aside from either repairing or replacing the pins or replacing the slot. Yeah, externally it looks great. And I mean, like, it's not impossible that one of these solder joints are bad. They look fine. Let me get my little camera on them. I don't think I've had cold solder joints on the game card slot before. Okay. There it goes. Is that cracked? Am I seeing things? The one that I have like basically centered. This one right here. There's this like nice like hair. Let me try and get a little closer look on it. That would be kind of remarkable. Like the very first one I looked at. Like there's this very clear line in it. Yeah, I think that's a crack. My needle is kind of catching on it a little. It's not much. Let me just see if I can like rub it away. Like it seems to be catching on it. And this is the right hand side of the game card slot. That's kind of wild. I don't know. I don't want this to be like I believe it's a confirmation bias, but I can't get the slot pin to move. But I mean, like I really have no reason to believe this pin is loose. And even if it was cracked on this side, there's still a majority of the The majority of the pin is still soldered. But that would explain at least some amount, because the pins themselves inside the game card slot, I'll try and get a good image of it. It's a little hard just based on the angle I have to go at. Like the pins themselves look great. Maybe that one right there almost looks a little low, but it shouldn't be that much. They do have some good marks on them just from friction. I don't see those marks. I think that's actually just a trick of the light. I don't see those marks with my eyes. The marks at the top of the pins. Let me look at it with a hand magnifying glass here, because that could also play into it. Sort of balancing, getting my light in here as well. And I can also look at the pins a little better. If there's any of them that are broken on the back. They all look fine. Like, they could probably stand to be cleaned again, but... So, that's at least a good lead. Let me put the camera, my microscope aside for now. Let me get this motherboard apart, separate from the console, and then I'll reflow those joints. I could probably do it while it's still connected like this, but I really don't like putting heat on a motherboard while it's sitting in a plastic shell. Even if I'm just touching those pins. It'd probably be fine. I would rather be safe than sorry. And this really isn't too much trouble for me. What can I say? I kind of like doing it anyway. And besides, I need to kind of get ready to take this thing apart to find a matching screen. So I'm kind of already halfway there. Oh, okay. Almost missed one. Probably get my solder iron prepped. This, I will pair it back with its original motherboard and look to find a new top screen for it. So let's get this guy in the vise. Get my camera back over. I have a little bit of setting up more I need to do here. Since I'm here, I'm just going to reflow them all. That one right there in particular. That's kind of wild. Leading theory is it is cracked, but I won't really know until I actually put it back together. Actually holding that. Get a different vice point on it. It was kind of angling it up. I've been eyeballing a big boy microscope. This digital one has been very good to me, but it's a bit not what I want. Served my use for my budget, but I think I'm willing to spend a little more now. One on the far left looks a little strange. I might have sucked up a little too much solder from it. I'll add a little more. There, that should do it. The only soldering I plan on doing today, so... Get everything turned off. Get my tester console put together. I'm going to need it for identifying a top screen. For that other console, that will be a problem for later. My camera. All right. I really wish I had a better way to clean these pins. Like, I wish I had a tool that could just, like a scrubber I could just jam in there. Instead, I just use game cards. Which it will usually do fine, but a game card isn't really that abrasive. Or at least as abrasive as I would like. Since this thing is not connected to a screen, I don't have to worry about oversaturating the board with rubbing alcohol. Because when it's in an assembled console, I don't want rubbing alcohol going around and migrating into the display. That's what happened to my poor DS Lite back in the days when I didn't quite understand what I was doing. Okay, so hopefully just the friction of some wet rubbing alcohol pins against, or contacts against the pins is enough. Sometimes it is. Usually it will sometimes make a pretty good difference, but it can only do so much. Right, my tester components. I should probably go through at one point because they're all kind of a bit of a cluster in here. It's for a DSI. Spec in diffusion. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Okay, power board, Wi-Fi, back, and I have my battery. I don't need the touchscreen, so I'm just gonna omit that. Oh yeah, that's nice and yellow. Wow. Now, testing a game card slot in my usual method might be a little hard in a tester console. However, I should know pretty quickly. Try with Bejeweled, as that was sort of the known troublemaker. So far, so good. I did just clean it with rubbing alcohol. That I've noticed that can sometimes skew my results. Yeah, I don't think I can do a motherboard test in a tester system. But I wasn't able to get Bejeweled to blip out like it did before. So I'll put this motherboard back into that burgundy console. As I need it to be secure in order to do that game card slot test with any sort of accuracy. I'll keep these out though. And if I'm going to want to slap the back of the console, I'm going to need that. Even though I technically don't need these components connected, I'll do it anyway. Well, I need the Wi-Fi connected, but I'm just gonna plug everything back in. So that when I reassemble it, I don't have to worry about anything getting pinched. Managed to drop my other screw. Thankfully. Black screws are pretty easy to spot, even if they are incredibly small. I know I said I'd plug everything in, but I'll skip the digitizer. Cable, it shouldn't be pinched in anything where it's sitting. Alright. Let's see now what it's doing. So far so good. 2 times it's disappeared is because I've ejected it. Game card slot still feels a little wet, so to speak, from the rubbing alcohol. Well, it just has like, it's a little hard to explain. Feels like it has additional friction. I use 91% rubbing alcohol, so it should be evaporating pretty quickly. I did use quite a bit. I mean, so far so good. I'm not going to test all of these because I need to give it a day anyway. At least 24 hours. It's kind of the standard practice I've come up with in regards to how legitimate these tests are right after cleaning. Because I feel like, especially when I do that with shoulder buttons, after cleaning it might look good, but then after the whole button completely dries, it either goes back to the way it was, or it's better but not perfect. Okay, well, that so far seems to be pretty good. Grab my little sheet that I've been keeping with the motherboard here. So it did. I can't exactly pass it on test 2, but I did not have a problem with it. I will pass it. Reflowed. Game card pins. 1. Appeared to be cracked. Cracked. Slot was cleaned. Cleaned. No need. And no need to perform other tests, just game card slot. Okay. I'm not exactly sure what I might see if I can find another screen for this console, but I'll hold off on actually finalizing everything so that I can get this motherboard that's inside of it finalized, because these tests are a lot easier to perform in an actually assembled console.